This week we welcome the Manscout Jake Manning to the show, episode number 162 of the Milo Beasley Show. And welcome to the Milo Beasley Show, episode number 162. We're hanging out this week. The Manscout Jake Manning, how you doing?
Hey, good to see you, Milo.
Good to see you again. It's been a while.
And
you're down here hanging out at Fest Wrestling down here in Florida.
Correct.
Florida's treated you pretty well in the past. FIP Florida Heritage Champion.
Yes, many years ago, and many pounds ago, mind you. I think I might have been 240, 230 during those times, and now I'm a lean, trim 187 pounds. I just went underneath that weight barrier right now. I'm actually weighing exactly what I wore when I was doing high school football. So.
Awesome, that's tremendous. So you played high school football, and you're from North Carolina, is that correct?
Originally Iowa. That's
originally Iowa, wow.
Originally from Iowa.
Yes. It's about too many. I don't even think Iowa actually existed until I actually met somebody from Iowa.
Yeah, since Seth Rollins came around, nobody cared about Iowa. So I thought it was gonna be me, but Seth Rollins has done a good job.
Iowa's a great amateur wrestling state, though.
Yes.
Yes, did you?
Yes, I did. But I only did it for 2 years because I had like a basketball family. Like my grandfather was he was the part of the first ever Iowa State basketball team conference champion at Iowa State, and that's back before they were the Big 12. They were the Big 6. So he was a really good basketball player. My uncles were a good basketball player. My dad was a good basketball player. I was the worst basketball player of all time. I did that for half my high school career, and then I got onto wrestling, which I wish I would have got into sooner. But it was okay. My junior year, my senior year was awful. I got like a case of shingles on my face. Almost went blind, so I almost could have been wrestling with an eye patch the rest of my life.
Right.
So.
Oh, that would have been a good game.
That was a lot of information for one soundbite.
So were you a fan of professional wrestling when you were growing up then?
Yeah. I have like early memories. It's weird when you love something, you look back at your childhood and like, oh, that's where that came from. You always knew that. Like when I got introduced for high school football, like I did the Chris Jericho. I shaved my head like Stone Cold Steve Austin my junior year, which we were a really good football team that year. So I could get everybody pumped up to win the homecoming game because it was going to be closer, and we just slaughtered them. And,
homecoming 316.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much get everybody jacked up because I could grow a goatee in high school. I just had enough testosterone to do that. But I shaved my head, and I've been stuck with this looks ever since then. So I've looked like a 35-year-old man since I was 17. So that's I always had the little small things about me. Like I knew I always liked pro wrestling, and actually I got in trouble in college when I was on a college track scholarship because I skipped out on a team fundraiser to see Triple H's return to Raw. I had to do like this big long extra workout, but it was totally worth it to see Triple H come back on Raw.
That's awesome. I actually missed my college graduation because I went to Japan for Big Japan. I was like, I can't take my finals because I'm gonna I missed out on my finals and my graduation because I was in Japan.
Eddie Gilbert of you.
So wrestling, it's weird, but it seems like it's there from when you were young.
Yeah.
And now you're doing something a little bit different from professional wrestling, which actually brings you down here a little bit as well to Florida. You're doing the stand-up comedy thing.
Yes.
How long have you been doing that, man?
Just over 2 years.
That is a long time.
Oh, well, I'm still in the pay and dues phase. I'm definitely in that part where I'm like the MC. I'm like usually the first comedian out. I give a lot of the announcements. I'm basically the guy that does comedy while people sit down and give the drink order. But that's the pay and dues part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Do you feel that you understand that pay and dues part because of wrestling?
Oh, there's a lot of things that like when I talk to like other comedians and they complain about this, or they're like, oh, this is tough, or they talk about, oh, things are like this, or you should be doing this. I'm like, this is so much like pro wrestling. It's It's insane. It's so much like it, and also too like you probably could attest because you've seen me in locker rooms and me being very grumpy individual, not a person that people like to hang around and stuff like that. But now I've probably smiled more in front of you than you've ever seen me smile before my entire life.
Yes,
because I've learned now I've got this new career to take an opportunity to do it better, do it right, be more positive, do the right things, and that's really what I've tried to do because I really messed up my entire pro wrestling career, like by negativity, being bitter, being angry, thinking about what everybody else is getting, what everybody else is doing, and not focusing on myself and being a person that's works hard, positive, and that you want to be around and attracts people to him. That's definitely what I did not do in professional wrestling, but that is what I'm trying to do in stand-up comedy. And it just came from a sense of like I just wanted to make people laugh. That's all I've ever wanted. That really, my pro wrestling, when you see it, it's not low key. Not in the sense that it's low key and people don't know about it. I am that. I'm very low key on the stature of professional wrestling, but I'm not low key in the ring and wrestle. I'm not AJ Styles. I'm a guy that if I can make people laugh or boo me, I prefer that.
There's all sorts of professional wrestling, right?
as opposed to get the holy shit chance.
Right. There's all sorts of professional wrestling, and who's to knock what people like? If people like the strong style, if people like the CZW hardcore, if people like comedy wrestling, who cares?
Yeah.
It's like there's a big debate right now in professional wrestling, right?
Yeah.
With Joey Ryan doing the stuff that he's doing, and then obviously CZW doing what they do, and they've just always been in the news, and Joey Janela's stuff has been like going like crazy. So who cares? Just like what you like and don't watch what you don't watch.
Yeah, and also too, that's who I am. I like making people laugh.
Do you use a lot of your wrestling stories within your comedy? Or?
I do a little bit just because it's unique and different, and there's a million. I don't know if there's a million, but there's definitely thousands of comedians out there, and everybody's got a Tinder bit. Everybody's got like, oh, my girlfriend's this, or oh, this or that, or my boss this. And the thing that I'm in this sweet spot of professional wrestling. I'm just known enough as a commodity in professional wrestling that if you Google me, like, oh, he's wrestled Kevin Owens before, oh, he's wrestled Joey Ryan, oh, he's wrestled Colt Cabana, he's wrestled all these guys, and he's a guy that's done something. But at the same time too, I'm just not famous enough that people have never heard of me, so I can bomb in anonymity, which is great because I can learn, I can suck, because that's what this whole process is right now, where I'm at in comedy, is sucking, taking the bombs, learning from it, getting better. Because like if Dolph Ziggler, like I know he's done a couple spots at like the Laugh Factory and stuff like that, if he bombs, people are going to get into it like, oh, so he's like awful, he sucks.
Cabana as well. Cabana's been doing that,
And that's the thing, like those guys are under a lot of pressure. If they suck, and if they're not as good as this other thing that they do, that's really going to bring down their stock, and it's going to be hard for them to learn and hard for them to grow. Where like people don't know that much about me. So like I'm very much an X factor, so I can be as good as I want, bad as I want. They just know in pro wrestling, I'm just kind of a guy. And the same thing in pro wrestling, you don't know how good or how bad I am. I seem like a credible person because I know there's a lot of stand-up comics that weren't very good. Like I know one guy who's a stand-up comic who used to be a wrestler. He won't even tell people what his wrestling name was. Like he's that like ashamed and quiet about it and stuff like that. But he did used to wrestle. But like I'm most certainly not that. So it seems like there's that direction. There's the Dolph Ziggler angle, but somewhere I'm in this weird spot that has never existed before. So like I have a lot of latitude. So like I have an ability to talk about pro wrestling, and there's like I said, there's maybe a small handful of people that can do that and talk about that. And so I try and do that right up at the top and just explain that, and then something different, something unique that people don't hear from.
Right, definitely. So again, I said we're hanging out at Fest. This is your first time at Fest?
This is my first time at Fest.
Do you know what you're in for? They told you about like this crowd. It's crazy.
I hope so. This is like the end of like a tour for me. A tour, but like a road trip where I did comedy in Atlanta on Wednesday, Jacksonville on Thursday, and then I was in St. Augustine last night and the night before. So this is like the cherry on top, this Fest Wrestling. Yeah. So I hope it goes off fantastic.
Yeah, Fest Wrestling is blowing up here in the state of Florida.
I'm sure they're going to be fine. Me, I'm worried about.
Right. So like this crowd is crazy.
Yeah.
So hopefully you get in and out without them throwing stuff at you. If you may be into that thing.
I'm fine. I'm very fluid that way.
One thing we like to do here on the Milo Beasley Show is called the Top 5. Okay. Or ask your a random question with your top 5. Okay. Now, I love the the Manscout gimmick.
Okay.
I absolutely love it. But if there were 5 other ridiculous gimmicks you could have done instead, which you probably had a list when you were starting. Okay, I wanted, what would they be?
Okay, all right. I'm glad you said it because this brings up time for me to talk about a really cool person, Joey Eastman.
Yeah.
He ran Total Tool Wrestling. And I think that's if you look for the picture with Colt Cabana dressed up like Twinkie the Kid, the Twinkie the Kid outfit, and they had a lot of really interesting characters and stuff like that. And I always wanted to get in tight with Joey so I could be on Total Tool Wrestling and do either Lukewarm, which is Stone Cold Steve Austin, but lukewarm, or I wanted to do a narcolepsy gimmick, where in mid-match I just fall asleep. And so that's 2 right there. But the lukewarm would be a 1, but narcolepsy, I had some different word, but a narcolepsy gimmick I thought would be come out and wrestle in pajama pants,
Right,
with a wife beater on with slippers, do all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, just fall down weekends.
Might as well be comfortable.
Exactly. Which then that tails into something that somebody was talking about, a weekend at Bernie's thing. I would love to be the Bernie. But then when they play the music, Weekend at Bernie's 2, you start doing the thing, start throwing some clotheslines, have a comeback, and then all of a sudden the music stops, fall down, pin the guy.
I want all these things.
So that's already the 3 right there. One thing that I would probably never do, but I feel like I pull off, and everybody tells me to do this all the time. And I think it's the dumbest thing ever, but everybody tells me, they're like, dude, you need to do a Russian gimmick. I've had people say, this Manscout stuff, don't do it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're that's know what you, and they're all honest, your Manscout thing, it's fine, whatever, it's jokey, but whatever. But know what you need to do, Jake. Know the thing that's gonna make you take it to the next level is if you do a Russian gimmick. And then all of a sudden I had to check the calendar, realize it's not 1987.
Right.
And I'm like, this is probably a good idea. But then shortly after that, Rusev became a big thing. And suddenly now Russia is a big thing.
Right,
again.
right, of course now it is, right? You're like, oh, that's stupid.
And also, too, I had a lot of old timers tell me that from behind, when I wear my red singlet, I look like Ivan Koloff.
Oh.
But that's only because I'm bald. And I'm hairy. Because I have back hair.
All right, so that's 4, so one more?
Oh, gosh, one more. Probably my alter ego when I used to drink a lot, and that's probably a big thing that's turned my whole life around is my attempts at sobriety, or I'm soberish. I can have a beer.
Soberish.
I have enough constitution to
That's
have
a
a
thing.
beer every once in a while, but I'm not craving a drink, or I'm not craving for the show to end so I can start drinking. That's not how I live anymore. But when I used to drink a lot and I would do stupid stuff, I would blame it on my alter ego, Jason Feverback.
Jason Feverback.
So, because my real name is Fearbach, so I'd always have these people with the misspellings and mispronunciations, and one time somebody called me Jason Feverback, and that just stuck. And Jason Feverback is an evil individual.
If that is not a Chikara name, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, and he has no regard for his own body. It'd probably look more like Darby Allin's gimmick, but that's kind of where that Jason Feverback would fall.
Awesome. I'm a huge gimmick guy, obviously. But I love the Manscout thing. And I was actually, when I was training somebody many years ago, and was trying to give them a Boy Scout gimmick, because he was like a rotund individual, let's just say, and I thought it would be really funny. And then I saw you, and I was like, son of a... and I was like...
Well, I'm glad I got it when I did, because I actually wanted to do it since day one. I wanted to do it since my first day of wrestling class in 2003. I told my trainer when I was finally, after 3 months, they were going to put me in Battle Royal, I was like, this is what I want to do. Had everything out. Told him, this is the end of 2003. I'm like, here, this is all my stuff right here. And all of a sudden, they're like, nope, that's a dumb idea. You're going to be a Mr. Perfect knockoff called Mr. Elite. And then I was that. I didn't even have a name. I had
just Mr. Elite?
I was just Mr. Elite in 2005. I moved to North Carolina. It's like, I'm done with this Mr. Elite thing. I'm going to be Jake Manning now. And so then I was Jake Manning, and then all of a sudden, 2007, at a fair show in Virginia, I'm like, you know what? And I already had gear made. I didn't use it. I was like, well, maybe one day. But I had gear made, and I'm like, I'm going to try this. And I did it at a fair show, and before I ever locked up, the guy I was wrestling was like, this is the best thing you've ever done. And ever since then, and I wouldn't even touch. He's like, this is the best thing you've ever done, ever. And ever since then, since 2007, I've been doing it. A lot of incarnations, a lot of figuring it out. I really should have had it, known what it was right away at the beginning. And so there's a lot of awful pictures of me, awful wrestling matches, a lot of trial and error, but finally I think I've got all the pieces together so it fits. now into something that the final product I'm very proud of.
Yeah, I absolutely love it, and I think a lot of people do on the Indies as well. Before we wrap up, where can folks find you on the social medias?
Oh, absolutely. You can look me up. Even just on Facebook, you can look up Manscout Jake Manning. Also, too, I also have like a podcast, a wrestling show.
Oh, yes, yes.
It's called How Did This Get Booked, which is a spin-off of How Did This Get Made, where me and Zane Riley get one of my comedian friends who is a non-wrestling fan and make them watch some of the most unbearable wrestling shows, wrestling movies, most avant-garde stuff. Like we've made people watch everything from, we're having somebody watching New Blood Rising next, and of course we made people watch Beyond the Mat. We've made people watch all kinds of things. Great American Bash 1991, the pop that Halloween Havoc 95, a lot of WCW, a lot of WCW, a lot of XPW as well. So just take these people who have never seen a professional wrestling show before and make them watch Rodman Down Under, and just get their impressions on it and get them to comment about it. So howdidthisgetbooked.com also too, that's on Facebook. Make sure you like that. And then of course if you interact with me on Twitter or Instagram, I'm trying to do better at writing more jokes on Twitter because that's what a lot of comedians do now. So make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Manscout Manning and at Manscout Manning on Instagram as well.
And they can find your dates on all that on the Facebook?
Yeah, I usually keep up with everything and let people know ahead of time on all that and tweet out all the time. There's a lot of stuff. Like this month of July has been rough. I think I've been up in front of a crowd either doing comedy or wrestling, I believe 20 times in the last 23 days.
Wow.
So it's been
busy.
It's been very hectic and very rough. So I think after this, I got just a little bit of time, like a week's worth of time. I think I'm gonna just hit pause, and then I got another big weekend this weekend, and then August is gonna be busy with Wrestling Revolver and everything else. So.
Awesome. Make sure you follow them. Check out those dates. There's a lot of them, so if maybe we'll get to a town near you. Of course, you can find me on all the socials at The Wrestling Bum. And of course, go to Facebook and find me at the Milo Beasley Show, and of course, the Milo Beasley Show on YouTube. Watch all 161 previous episodes. And I think that's going to be it. Thank you very much for chatting with me, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
And this has been episode 162 of the Milo Beasley Show. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yay, I'm entertaining.